Okay, I'm a little late to the party for this one, but here we go. A brief recap of the March podcast. Now obviously I'm gonna skip the Zenos stuff here because I already made the whole video about him. And even though I make it before the podcast, I pretty much got an 80% of information right. Other 20% is a couple things I missed, like how all of his EXQ attack is unblockable, so it's become a true rock paper scissors at close range. You either dodge it or get dunked. The buff he gets once he got all 3 of his sense will also give him the Vanguard level of poise and interruption, pretty much turn him into a Berserker mode X-Stat. And finally, his Storm, Swell and Sword actually give him invincibility. And yep, that's the big stuff I missed about the Zenos breakdown. Every other small detail will be included in the moveset video I'm going to make later. Also, there's some bad news for Zenos, or maybe it can be considered as a good news. We will only get his alternate color when he's released. Yeah, no alternate costume, no alternate weapon. That thing will come to the arcade on June and then NT on July. Reason? Well, surprisingly not because of his sexy armor, it's because of Shadowbringer. Yeah, that's pretty much the reason they just said the Shadowbringer. So it's heavily implied that it's going to be the costume from Shadowbringer. So yeah, the good news I guess is that his second costume is not just gonna be him with helmet, though that may be what EX form is for. So yeah, I guess looking forward to the stuff we're supposed to have right now. But again, we might got a cool costume out of it. But right now, there's a lot of other crap to go to. Okay, not a lot, but I gotta have some pretty long rant about something. Anyway, first up, the dev actually recognized the existence of the stream version. We all know how poo-poo garbage the matchmaking and the lag was in the PC version, at least according to other people, however I know PS4 Master Race, but they acknowledge it and they try to fix it as much as they can. And by as much as they can, I mean still keep peer-to-peer system because they don't want to go back and change the entire game system. Now the change they mentioned is pretty much emphasized on matchmaking. They try to reduce the distance between players who get matchmaking and also taking connection strength into account. Now this does seem to fix the lag problem, but the matchmaking become quite concerning because, you know, less group of people for you to match with, and with a pretty damn low player base right now, this can backfire them really hard. Again, this is not like a final fix or something, they try to change it and see how it works, so it's still a good sign that they actually care, but man, I feel like we need a long time for that. Thank God I live near Japan. Anyway, next up, the thing we kinda expect to be announced here, the second half of this new batch of soundtrack. The first half was announced back in January, alongside Snow, so I guess they wait 2 months for this one. We finally got the conclusion of this fourth batch of soundtrack. The song include Mount God from 1, The Dark Crystal from 3, In Search of Light from 5, Bird of God from 7, not the Dragon Ball Super one, Premonition from 8, Shenryu from 11, The Wormtail from 14, which is another Shenryu theme. Yeah, this is a song they play in the Zenos trailer, Omnes Rokima from 15, and War Howl of the Dreadnought from Type 0. You get this remix alongside the original song, except for the Mount Gork, for free on April 11, the same time as Zenos DLC. The other thing we also got that day is a character change. And apparently only one character got changed, but it's a pretty damn big one. Yep, Cloud of Darkness got a soft rework, which all things considered is a little bit bigger than Sephiroth's soft rework. There's a whole lot of change in terms of frame data and range for almost every single one of their attack, so I'm only going to talk about the major change. First one is her Flood of Darkness charge, which now have the added inflict the debuff on the last hit. That debuff is attack minus 20%, which means with that debuff alone, that person will deal 25% less damage. Yeah, that's how damage calculation works, just don't ask me. This gives you more reason to use Flood of Darkness charge because before it was just a tiny damage buff and a huge knockback. And by the way, this debuff lasts for 20 seconds, which is pretty damn long for a free debuff. If you are good at her, then you can certainly apply debuff constantly because Flood of Darkness charge is about 10 seconds. Aside from this, there's 2 big changes for 2 of her attack. Her backward aerial, which used to be as 3 small balls projectile, is now a single ball that is bigger and a bit faster. It also have higher priority, which is quite an upgrade. The damage is the same as all 3 balls combined, so overall it's harder to deal with ship damage but easier to deal full damage. And lastly, her big change is in her second HP attack, Diffusion Particle Beam. Before, this move was just like her first HP attack but faster and have less range, but now it got added benefit of actually dealing bravery damage. The beam themselves becomes thinner but longer, so pretty much think of this move as Sedan free energy. And yeah, that's all her big noticeable change. Though I forgot to mention that Zero Form Particle Beam, you know, that Gallic Gun of Death and Destruction, also got some range increase. So yeah, have fun fighting her. And that's all for the stuff that will come to NT on April 11, cause surprisingly the last thing we got here is already come to NT on March 26, the same day as the arcade. And that was 2 third alternate costume. For Terra we got the Esper Progeny, that duodecim costume with the leg fetishes, which come alongside the 5th weapon, a freaking ultimate weapon. For Kapka, we got the Fallen One, aka the God Kapka, and also his hat. Both of them not just come with a single costume and weapon, they also have other 2 alternate colors and 4 new chat messages, which already in the game this since launch day by the way. For each character, all of them come packed into one DLC. So at first I was like, okay, the price of the alternate costume is 200 plus yen, and weapon is 100 plus yen. And you know, the chat message, whatever, it couldn't be worth that much. So I was thinking that the price of the whole pack should be around 400 or maybe 500 plus yen. So what's the actual price? Freaking A, dude. That's like 3 times the posted price. It's freaking twice as much as DLC character. What are they, freaking nuts? And it's not like I don't understand why they do this. In the arcade, you get this costume set by playing that character and collect enough points. That sounds like a freaking heaven, right? But remember that arcade is P2P, not just peer-to-peer but also pay to play. Even if you win almost every single game, you need at least 4,500 yen, 3 times as much as NT DLC, which is already 3 times as much as the posted price, and it will be higher if you lose even a single game. Yeah, sound like hell now, isn't it? But that's the arcade, the player there is freaking metal as crap. But regardless of reason, this thing is still pricey as hell. Personally, I don't give 2 lick of a crap for a cosmetic DLC. Unless that costume is cross-dressing Cloud, then I might have second thought. But right now, if you ask me, don't bother until it's on discount. Resist the die and the chest man, you can do it. And that's it for the update. See you next time.